Standalone Complex, a master thesis exam presentation video by Alexander Lütsche. I based my work on that of several others who worked in various tangentially related fields related to how people behave on the internet. Postmas et al.'s experimental work with groups of students in anonymous groups that only communicated via digital devices gave insights into normative behavior and the formation of norms on the internet. Without names, armbands, or other clues to identify each other, rules for behavior became key to identifying and differentiating yourself in an anonymous setting. John Seuller's work on online disinhibition posits that people are aware that they can behave differently online, both because they truly cannot be seen when they do so, and because real-life power is largely inconsequential on the internet, amongst other factors. Lagrange spoke of third-wave cybernetics as a way to explain the self-regulating behavior that comes from the non-linear dynamics that online communication affords. He explained how real-life face-to-face communication is linear and easy to control, while electronic communication is the opposite, allowing for non-traditional discourse. Wren et al. Explained the concept of identity and common bond theory to explain the different online communities and how they're built. They gave insight into how a community can revolve around a shared goal or interest, with the individual members being largely inconsequential as long as the group's overall goal or focus remains the same. With these ideas in mind, I formulated my theory on the standalone complex, defining three types of standalone complexes. The first is that of the standalone complex community. These are leaderless communities where anyone can join. A conventional power structure is typically hierarchical, with one or more leaders and members with more power than others. The power structure here is clear, but in a standalone complex the hierarchy is horizontal, allowing anyone to contribute with what they see fit, should they wish so. Participants gravitate in and out, as there is nothing that binds anyone to stay beyond their own interest and the focus of the community. In my thesis I have given three examples to this type of standalone complex: Anonymous, the Furries, and the Bronies. In all of these cases, nobody can ever truly be excluded from the groups, for there are no definitive leaders in any of these communities who can say, "No, you are not part of us." Nor are there any definitive definitions of what constitutes entry requirements in any of the three communities, beyond the individual wanting to be part of them. The second type of standalone complex is that of the standalone complex raid. These are much like the standalone complex communities, as they consist of people coming together out of a shared interest in a kind of goal, with there being no real rules on how to achieve the goal, but the main difference with raids is the kind of goal focused on. For community complexes, the goal is often akin to have fun together, or communally share fiction and art that focus on topic X. Raid complexes focus on the act of raiding, a variation of online harassment. The goal of a raid is often to discover the personal information of a target and to release this information to the public. Many raids follow up with harassment of the target, now that anyone can crank call his phone number, spam his email, or order goods and services to appear at his home or work address. As with community complexes, then anyone can join, nobody is in charge, and you can leave at any time. Unlike community complexes, then raids are usually far more short-lived. At some point it is simply not fun anymore to prank or harass the target. In my thesis I have given numerous examples of raids. Some spawned as a result of would-be targets behaving in a way that invited the wrath of thousands upon them, while other raids started because someone was targeted by pranksters simply for fun. A raid on a single person can be a powerful phenomenon which can ruin the life of a target, but alternately a raid can also come together to save life when the goal is to find the identity of an abusive person. In my thesis, I have given examples to all of these variations of the standalone complex raid. The final type of standalone complex is that of the internet meme. The notion of viral content and concepts is well known, but today many of these memes go beyond mere jokes that you send around to friends. Many invite and encourage user participation and replication, allowing anyone to not just share but produce their own variations of the content and thus enhance the sum total of the content the meme represents. An internet meme is thus something that can evolve and grow, as opposed to a single joke that once told enough times stops being funny. An example of this is the gentleman image macro. It started as a silly picture of the spy character from the Valve game Team Fortress 2 back in 2008. This was funny enough that someone drew a portrait which was edited to yield what is known as an exploitable, a template for others to use. From there, untold variations were made, following the simple idea of an open-mouthed face with something in its mouth, saying a word that usually ended on men. To summarize, the standalone complexes all work on the same basic principles: no leaders, no real coordination, and individual voluntary contribution of labor and content, with popular emergence being the origin of each standalone complex. There is no commitment or requirement that you stay, and the community, raid or meme, only lives for as long as people think it's worth doing, although they never truly die, as nothing on the internet ever truly disappears. My theory of the standalone complex is meant to explain these internet phenomena, to help people explain how uncontrollable, but also how powerful these emergent phenomena can be. Social media and networking sites allow for millions of users to be exposed to the same potentially viral content, be it via Tumblr, YouTube, or the chance. Similarly, then mediology, as I understand it, strives to develop increasingly better and more intuitive digital media products and devices. Standalone complexes depend on ease of access and ease of use to allow for more spontaneous content generation and user participation. To this end, I argue that my theory of the standalone complex is helpful to predict and explain these possible uses and consequences of such new technology. We want to be able to understand online communities better, especially if we wish to design apps and products for them, as some of these communities represent very large potential markets. For this, my standalone complex theory would be the first step down that path.